Hi everybody, my name is Curt Donohue and I'm with MainStreet Essentials Day Spa. Today I've got a real treat for you. We've got an interview with Jon Kornbluh, who is the very personable owner of Bluecorn Naturals, and they're a natural beeswax candle manufacturer out of Ridgway, Colorado. They do happen to have other products besides the natural beeswax candles, but that's kind of their primary line. And in this interview that follows, I'm going to get a chance to talk to Jon about kind of where Bluecorn Naturals came from and some of the products that they offer and kind of some of the philosophy behind beeswax candles, which was really interesting. I found that I didn't know anything about beeswax candles, and I'm surprised actually how good they are for your health versus a standard paraffin candle that pretty much everybody burns. So I hope you enjoy the upcoming video, and please feel free to check out www.montrosedayspa.com for some other great stuff. All right, thanks. Jon, can you tell me a little bit about the history of Bluecorn Naturals, kind of where you came from, how you got started,
Sure.
what created the idea of beeswax candles?
It's a good story. I was a ski bum in Telluride, Colorado in 1990, and I was living in a 10 by 10 cabin with no utilities, working very little, skiing way too much. And I was lighting my cabin with a kerosene lantern, and little did I know, I was getting poisoned. I had headaches and sleeplessness, and I soon figured out that it was the kerosene. And that led me to look for some candles. And a buddy of mine said, oh, why don't I bring down my beeswax and we'll dip some candles? I'm like, okay, great. So we got a propane burner and a couple buckets, and he had all this beautiful raw Colorado beeswax. And we dipped the old traditional hand-dipped beeswax tapers. And that was really the beginning. That night, we dipped well into the night, and there was hundreds of candles strung wall to wall on this clothesline. It smelled beautiful. It was sweet. We took them into town the next day, and those 200 candles were gone in an hour. We sold them to friends. We sold them to the health food store, and I loved it. I loved the whole process. And not too long after that, I said to my friend, his name was Baker Steve. He was a baker.
Mm-hmm.
Baker, I'd love to do this for a living. Do you want to start a company? And he said, I have no interest in doing that, but go for it. And that's how Bluecorn was born. I was currently working as a waiter in a restaurant at Hunga's Lotus Petal, and Hunga used to have a nickname for me. She called me Bluecorn, because my last name's Kornbluh.
Yeah.
And Bluecorn Beeswax was the original name of the company. And that shifted to Bluecorn Naturals as we got into body care products and other things.
That's pretty awesome. Not to digress too much, but Honga's is like one of my favorite restaurants in Telluride. I love their sushi. They're just a fantastic restaurant. So that's pretty cool. So when did this all happen? What year was it? How many years ago?
This was 1991.
Oh, you've been at this a long time now. So
We've been at this a very long time. It's actually quite amazing that I'm still in the candle business.
Right.
Yeah.
So what would that make it, 20 years now?
Give or take, it was 20 years ago that it was exactly 20 years ago that I dipped my first candle, and I really began Bluecorn as a full-scale business in earnest in 96.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely made candles for years on and off for the holiday season and in and out, and sold to local establishments, but I went for it on a much larger scale in 96.
Got it. And so really the reason that you kind of are where you are, have you always been in Ridgway, or are you...
No, the company was born, as I said, in Telluride.
Mm-hmm.
And then I moved in 94 to Rico, which is 45 minutes to the south of Telluride, where I ran Bluecorn for many years, right up until 2 years ago. My family and I, along with Bluecorn, moved to Ridgway. 2,000 feet lower elevation, slightly warmer, down in the lowlands of Ridgeway.
Yeah.
Rico is high up there. And it's also been a great move for our business. Bigger facility, bigger labor pool. It's been a good move.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I can definitely attest that having, being up in Rico is awesome, beautiful. So is Telluride. Ridgeway is equally as beautiful. Rico is definitely much colder.
Oh yeah.
Not that Ridgeway is warm, but
No, Rico's deep. It's deeper, not colder. It's deeper.
Deeper, okay.
Yeah, my last winter we had 14 feet of snow on the north side of the house. So
oh wow,
that doesn't happen in Ridgeway.
That's awesome for a ski bum, I bet.
Exactly.
So, okay, so let's see. What did I want to talk about next? Okay, beeswax candles. So obviously it was kind of a health concern that you had that even inspired the whole beeswax candle to happen, at least in your life. So that's kind of really how it all started. It just was some sort of a fluke. You ran into an issue where you were poisoning yourself with the kerosene, and you found out that the beeswax candles were a much healthier way to go as far as low-tech light is concerned. Or is there anything else you can kind of tell me about what makes beeswax so special and why it's so important to you?
Absolutely. I really knew very little about beeswax when I got into it. And I trusted the fact that if my friend, who had a lot of health integrity in terms of healthy living, if he was bringing beeswax in, then it must be good. But I didn't really learn about it until after the fact. And I got into the whole candle world and learned that paraffin, what most candles are made of, is a byproduct of the oil producing the petroleum industry. And it's kind of the bottom of the barrel. And it's a toxic substance. I could go into depth about that, but I know we're somewhat limited on time. And so paraffin has similar emissions as diesel fuel. And so when you're burning a candle, sitting over a romantic dinner with a paraffin candle between you, you're inhaling toxic fumes. And so as I got into the beeswax world, I started learning more and more about why beeswax is different. It starts with the bees. Everything that bees make is really quite remarkable, and they're amazing creatures. And the beeswax is no different. It's one of the only fuels that, when burned, emits negative ions, and it does so in huge numbers. And negative ions cleanse the air. They do this by positively charged ions, or the things that hold odors, dust, allergens aloft in the air. And negative ions, like are generated from a rainstorm or a waterfall. Those negative ions attach to the positive ions, load that, and they weight the combination, and it drops to the ground. And that's why after a rainstorm, everything smells really fresh. Beeswax emits negative ions. So it cleanses the air as it burns. It also has the highest melt point of any of the candle waxes: palm wax, soy wax, paraffin wax. And if combined with the right wick and made correctly, it'll burn longer than any other candle fuel on the market, by a significant amount. And that leads me into how to make a really good beeswax candle, if I may.
Yeah, please do. Oh, I just like to make one little comment though. The negative ions is fascinating. It almost sounds like somewhat of a parallel between certain vitamins or certain foods that we can eat that actually take care of free radicals in the body. Is that kind of any type of comparability at all?
Well,
grabbing the bad stuff and getting rid of it?
You're not ingesting it, and really my scientific knowledge ends there. Mm-hmm. I do know that there was a Japanese study done on burning emissions and negative ion generation, but I don't really know about free radicals and food, other than that you are what you eat, and that's why we have a slogan: you breathe what you burn.
Okay, great. I'm sorry to distract for a second. Go ahead.
No worries.